there is only science. It bends to my will. Now, so shall you. And then, the world!
Hi, this is I'm Canlish and welcome to another Marvelous Videos. Good news for every fan of M.O.D.O.K out there, as the character is about to get his big screen debut in Peyton Reed's upcoming superhero movie titled Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Essayed by none other than Corey Stoll. Like it or not, there is no denying that the character of M.O.D.O.K does occupy a rather strange place in the superhero pantheon. Well, technically not a superhero. The creation of the celebrated duo Stan Lee and Jack Kirby debuted during the Silver Age of comic books in the 93rd issue of Tales of Suspense back in the year 1967. Now, with Reed's movie scheduled for a mid-February release, we feel that there has never been a better time to learn about the nuts and bolts of this classic Marvel Comics villain. So without any further delay, let's dig into who is M.O.D.O.K right away. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. George Tarleton, aka Modoc Origins Explored. By taking a peek at the original story, we learn that George Tarleton was apparently working as a technician for Advanced Idea Mechanics, AIM, and aiding the team in creating the Cosmic Cube. Now, for those of you who are not aware of the Cosmic Cube, it's a device capable of controlling both matter as well as energy. Dr. Lyle Getz, who was the scientist supreme of AIM, wished to study the cube and therefore ended up creating the project M.O.D.O.K, M.O.D.O.K, which stood for Mental Organism Designed Only for Computing. While he created the project to delve deeper into the Cosmic Cube and develop AIM's productivity in terms of its scientific endeavors, George became the unlucky test subject and was mutagenically transformed into a human computer. Unquestionably, he became super smart, and all but his skull also became huge in the process. So huge that it looked a tad much on his otherwise frail body, and he was placed within a technologically advanced device, a hover chair to be more precise, one that referred to as the Doomsday Chair. George despised what he had become, and it was only a matter of time on his part to rebel against his very creators and take control of AIM. He also renamed himself as M.O.D.O.K, which now was the short form of Mental Organism Designed Only for Killing. Now that we are clear on the basics, here's exploring the 133rd issue of Captain America, which will not only give fans a detailed origin story of how George Tarleton became M.O.D.O.K, but also shed light on the fact that he was initially a reoccurring enemy of Captain America because he loathed the latter's perfect body. Please know that we aren't joking about this or making things up. Mind you, while we are exploring the comic book here, our focus will primarily be on M.O.D.O.K. The issue begins with the monstrous M.O.D.O.K summoning two fearful, trembling aides before him at the hidden headquarters of AIM. We learn from him that the android Bucky Barnes was supposed to destroy Captain America, but he's failed in his mission, and M.O.D.O.K is absolutely furious about it. While his aides ask him to show them leniency, M.O.D.O.K displays his act of mercy by shooting a devastating energy beam at them. The readers get a fair idea about M.O.D.O.K's profound levels of hatred towards the straight, tall, and handsome-looking Captain America, and we are reminded of the horrible, unbelievable day when George Tarleton was forcibly brought before the AIM Scientist Supreme and placed inside the alteration chamber. George's constant pleadings fell on deaf ears. Instead, they were deemed useless, and he was regarded as one of the countless named agents of AIM. The Scientist Supreme informs him that after they are done with the procedure, George will be a living, breathing computer with the greatest brain on Earth, further stating that he will be the deadliest weapon in the AIM arsenal. The process is carried on for 24 hours after, which the Scientist Supreme presents George as M.O.D.O.K, Mental Organism Designed Only for Killing. But looks-wise, George has transformed into a freak, an inhuman monstrosity. Shocked and highly furious to see that he has become a grotesque and pitiful freak, M.O.D.O.K immediately slew the Scientist Supreme with just a single brain blast. Upon realizing that AIM has made him immensely stronger, he took control of the forces of the organization within an hour, posing himself as the de facto leader. No wonder his hatred revolved around Captain America, the man who stands for everything that M.O.D.O.K does not, and the man he is hell-bent on destroying. Coming back to where the story began, M.O.D.O.K is seen resorting to his matchless cybernetic power to mentally locate Captain America. With M.O.D.O.K thinking about his costume foe and letting his own mind flow free, he is able to trace him along with his ally Falcon in the streets of Harlem. Right after locating his archenemy, M.O.D.O.K is seen residing the all-powerful alteration chamber and thereby giving life to the Bulldozer Man. Next, he sends his powerful android to Harlem to wreak havoc and draw out Captain America. With Bulldozer on a rampaging spree, we are stressing on the colossal figure shattering stones and bricks with his fists and following the command of his master. It does not take Captain America much time to figure out that the humanoid robot happens to be a creation of M.O.D.O.K. After Captain America discovers that Bulldozer is being currently controlled by the power of M.O.D.O.K's mind, he successfully manages to reverse the mental commands of M.O.D.O.K and eventually comes across M.O.D.O.K's hiding place inside an abandoned church. What ensues is a brief battle between M.O.D.O.K and Captain America, with the latter eventually saving the day. Marvelous story arc of M.O.D.O.K. M.O.D.O.K versus Captain America, Namor, Dr. Doom, and Hulk. The reoccurring enemy of Captain America did everything on his part to destroy his costume foe, from manipulating Captain America as part of a ploy to steal Professor Foxgrave's latest atomic equations, transforming one of his assassins into a cyborg and sending him after Captain America, to creating an android duplicate of Bucky. And let's not forget the giant robot Bulldozer. M.O.D.O.K's attempts were unsuccessful every single time. Next, he is reported to have battled Namor, aka the Submariner, and then seized him as a prisoner with the aid of his army of robots. Of course, Namor managed to free himself later. It was also around the same time that Dr. Doom confronted M.O.D.O.K directly, as he wanted to lay his hands on the Cosmic Cube. With Namor escaping from M.O.D.O.K, the former joined forces with Dr. Doom, and together they defeated M.O.D.O.K. Believe us all when we tell you that there was a time when M.O.D.O.K actually attempted to defeat the Hulk by abducting Betty Ross, using gamma radiation on her and then transforming her into a creature more powerful than Hulk. Well, the sole purpose of doing all that was to make Betty kill Hulk, but with M.O.D.O.K eventually getting confronted by Hulk himself, he, or his robotic body for that matter, did not really stand a chance. In short, M.O.D.O.K was left with no option but to flee from there, but of course, he was not done with Bruce Banner yet. Call him crazy or whatever you want, M.O.D.O.K went to a whole extent of kidnapping a friend of Bruce Banner's, Dr. Catherine Waynesboro to be more specific, and altering her into a female M.O.D.O.K. Yes, you heard that absolutely right. Well, one can only thank God that the transformation was for a brief time period and Waynesboro was transformed back to her previous normal self. The supposed death of M.O.D.O.K. M.O.D.O.K's obsession with violence and revenge with the Avengers, and add on to this his short-sighted leadership, had AIM ousting him more than often, but he always managed to come back to power. This drove all the other AIM leaders to employ assassins with the solitary intention of not only disassociating themselves from M.O.D.O.K, but also wiping him out, literally. It was the Serpent Society who was eventually hired to do the job, and during their first paying assignment, Death Adder struck the final blow. With the Serpent Society returning back M.O.D.O.K's body to AIM, the organization ended up using it as a supercomputer. In fact, a certain AIM operative was reported to have made use of M.O.D.O.K's body to destroy Iron Man, but that only resulted in the destruction of M.O.D.O.K's body. With M.O.D.O.K dead, the organization replaced him with his female counterpart, M.O.D.A.M, one that stood for Mental Organism Designed for Aggressive Maneuvers. M.O.D.O.K comes back. AIM resurrected M.O.D.O.K when the organization needed him to help them create another cosmic cube. In due course, M.O.D.O.K found himself stranded in a different dimension, only to come back when inadvertently recovered from the supervillain team of the Headmen. It goes without saying that M.O.D.O.K took control of the organization once again. M.O.D.O.K was next seen trying to use the innovation of Dr. Mark Cushing. Apparently, Cushing had invented a way to make use of the latent powers of human beings and alter the weak into super beings. Making use of the pooled psychic power of the Super Society, M.O.D.O.K was successful in creating this humongous body makeup of pure energy for himself. It was later that M.O.D.O.K was apprehended by a group that had both the US naval intelligence and a drug cartel involved. They lobotomized and used him for their own benefits, gaining access into the spy satellites as well as controlling the stock market, but M.O.D.O.K was able to turn the situation into his favor before S.H.I.E.L.D. took him into custody. AI Monkeys and Intelligentsia. Post re-establishing himself back as the leader of AIM, M.O.D.O.K was seen battling the Fantastic Four in Puerto Rico, alongside his army of genetically enhanced monkeys that he has dressed as the AI Monkeys. While he was defeated, it was eventually disclosed that M.O.D.O.K was responsible for the creation of Red Hulk as well as the Red She-Hulk, and that he was connected to the secret sinister organization of Intelligentsia. M.O.D.O.K in Iron Man, the animated series. Voiced by Jim Cummings, M.O.D.O.K appeared as a recurring villain working for the supervillain the Mandarin in the 1994 animated TV series titled Iron Man. But before we get into his detailed appearance in the animated series, here's a bit of backstory. George Tarleton was a scientist, one who worked under the Red Ghost, serving primarily as a guinea pig in experiments that were designed particularly to increase the levels of human intelligence. It was around the same time when George and his superior both fell in love with the supermodel Alana Ulunova, but because of the Red Ghost also had feelings for Alana, he ended up mutating George. Despite his mutated form, George and Alana got married, but the former left Alana after his appearance became a little bit too much on his part to handle, and he became dependent on a life support system. He started calling himself M.O.D.O.K, and while looking for a cure, started serving the Mandarin, thinking that he would be able to reverse him back to his normal self. The audience get to see M.O.D.O.K right in the first episode of the series, titled "And the Sea Shall Give Up Its Dead." He appears as the ridiculous-looking small but large-headed creature with tiny hands and feet. He is also tiny that, well, he's even seen disguising himself as a baby. Personality-wise, he seems to be quite subservient to the world-conquering Mandarin and always by his side as the second-in-command. In the first episode of the series, M.O.D.O.K is responsible for transforming the crew of the Prometheus submarine into unstoppable radioactive zombie warriors, and also summoning the most powerful and destructive cyber organism in the universe, Titanium Man. In the second episode, titled Rejoice, I Am Ultimo, Thy Deliver, M.O.D.O.K along with the Mandarin and industrialist Justin Hammer end up bringing back to life an ancient, supremely powerful giant robot called Ultimo. M.O.D.O.K even helps the Mandarin develop a device to control Ultimo, and then sent the robot after Iron Man. In the third episode, titled Data In, Chaos Out, we get to see a miniature version of M.O.D.O.K that is addressed as Elf, or in simpler words, external life form. Elf is seen serving M.O.D.O.K, and it is via Elf that Jim Rhodes gets brainwashed to an extent that he actually turns against Iron Man and gets him behind the bars. In the later part of the episode, a brief fight between the M.O.D.O.K and Iron Man is also seen, which leads to Iron Man grabbing the arm of M.O.D.O.K, spinning him around and then slamming the villain into the side. M.O.D.O.K is last seen appearing in the final two-parter episode, titled Hands of the Mandarin. Here the Mandarin has his own sinister plans of using the life forces of Iron Man and the rest of the Force Works to power the Heart of Darkness and shut down all forms of technology on the planet. Upon coming to a realization that the Mandarin would any day conquer the Earth rather than preserving his life support system, M.O.D.O.K turns against the Mandarin.
Proceed.
M.O.D.O.K in The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Voiced by Wally Wingert, M.O.D.O.K appears as the supporting villain in the 2010 superhero animated TV series The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. While not much is known about the character's early life, but what is known for a fact is that he was originally known as George Tarleton, and he himself was responsible for the transformation into M.O.D.O.K. Please know that the C here stands for Conquest. Post his transformation into a techno-organic living computer, which boasted extreme levels of mental powers and a highly superior brain. M.O.D.O.K became the head of the infamous terrorist organization, AIM. His organization was not only accountable for creating the unusual and unethical experiments, but also sponsored advanced weapons for Hydra. In due course, M.O.D.O.K was apprehended by S.H.I.E.L.D. and held in the vault. With Loki secretly orchestrating a mass S.H.I.E.L.D. prison breakout, M.O.D.O.K was amongst the many villains who broke out and assumed his role as the head of AIM. He also joined hands with Hydra and started working for the organization. Of course, he had his own agenda and wished to use Hydra for his own plans of world domination. It was M.O.D.O.K who aided in creating the Cosmic Cube, and on behalf of Hydra, which is what kept AIM and Hydra in constant conflict with each other, we are stressing on the organizations literally tearing the world apart while fighting over the Cosmic Cube. Thanks to the intervention of the Avengers and the shield, that M.O.D.O.K was recaptured and taken to another new prison facility. Now, when it comes to his appearance here, he does look a lot like sort of similar to comics counterpart, but in a way he does look more trimmed. He is seen getting highly infuriated whenever his mad schemes don't work out, or he gets mocked for his ridiculous appearance. Like this one time he got highly mad at Thor because the latter called him a frost giant's head inside an infant's body. Well, no wonder M.O.D.O.K resorted to using his laser to fire at him and blast him through the walls, tearing them apart. Personality-wise, he's also quite conniving. For someone who can influence the Grim Reaper, Baron von Strucker, and basically the whole of Hydra to bestow upon him unlimited power, you know that he cannot be taken lightly. It's a different thing that his plan failed eventually, post getting beaten by the joint effort of Hydra's advanced weaponry and Avengers alongside with S.H.I.E.L.D. The character has appeared in the first episode titled Iron Man is Born, 10th episode titled Everything is Wonderful, the 16th episode titled Widow's Sting, and the 21st episode titled Hail Hydra.
M.O.D.O.K, I cannot be defeated!
Alternative versions of M.O.D.O.K. There are plenty. We will begin with the comic book series Marvel Adventures. The Avengers, where M.O.D.O.K, who stands for Mental Organism Designed Only for Conquest, makes an appearance. Here, he transforms the Avengers into superior versions, before being defeated, of course. M.O.D.O.K appears as M.O.D.O.T, who stands for Mobile Organism Designed Only for Talking, in the third Howard the Duck miniseries. Here he can walk freely and does not need his signature hover chair. His version is only interested in making money at the branch of AIM responsible for his creation. Primarily did it so that he could talk to the head office into increasing their budget. In the end, M.O.D.O.K is seen ruling the airwaves, influencing hordes of viewers through many android hosts, anchormen, as well as reporters, mind you, all of them being controlled by him. In the second volume of the comic book series, The Invincible Iron Man, M.O.D.O.K appears as M.O.D.O.K, who stands for Mobile Organism Designed Only for Genocide. Here he has an encounter with Iron Man, who ends up dumping him in outer space. In the US War Machine miniseries, another version of M.O.D.O.K is seen appearing, who, upon getting discharged from AIM as some kind of victim of racism, gets reclaimed by S.H.I.E.L.D, taking the Ultimate Marvel aka Ultimate Comics version. M.O.D.O.K makes an appearance in Ultimate Vision, where his character ends up getting infected by Galactus, and all that's left of him is just his head. The criminal organization Beyond Corporation generated close to 4 versions of M.O.D.O.K, all based around Elvis Presley, to safeguard State 51, their secret weapons factory. It is reported that all of them were overpowered by the squad of Next Wave. In Iron Man 1, M.O.D.O.K crosses paths with the DC Comics character Hector Hammond, and together they form Hector, or in other words, highly evolved creature, totally orientated for revenge. A different version of M.O.D.O.K is also seen devoured by Hawkeye and She-Hulk, both of them having transformed into zombies. In the 1999 comic book limited series titled Earth X, M.O.D.O.K dies after the Red Skull first exhibited his powers. That's not all, his hoverchair was also recovered by the Army of the Skull, one that led to Skull using it later as his personal throne. As per the events of Avengers of the Wasteland, M.O.D.O.K is seen ambushing Danielle Cage's group in Osborne County and then getting killed by the android Vivian Vision. M.O.D.O.K also appears in M.O.D.O.D, or in other words, Mental Organism Designed Only for Roller Derby, in the 4th issue of the miniseries X-Men Serve and Protect. If we take into account the events of the comic book storyline Secret Wars, M.O.D.O.K appears as an assassin, having slaughtered every known superhero to exist in the battle world domain of Killville. Lastly, in the ongoing comic book series Spider-Gwen, Captain America is seen battling against M.O.D.O.K, who stands for Mental Organism Designed as America's King. In case you did not know, his character is based on Donald Trump.
Wait, what?
What makes M.O.D.O.K so powerful? Well, to begin with, George Tarleton, post undergoing the mutagenic procedure, became a human computer, and this ultimately made him super intelligent. It should not surprise you that he was blessed with augmented intuition, incredible pattern solving skills, both storage and retrieval of data, as well as logical structuring. So much so that he was able to compute probabilities of events, thereby giving him a strong sense of precognition, and in most cases, he was always right. He was even capable of remembering every moment, and full credit to his photographic memory for that. Now, if you take a proper look at M.O.D.O.K, you will find him donning a headband. This is where he could fire powerful energy beams from all he had to do was just focus on his mental power. Then comes his psychic abilities that made him capable of mentally controlling beings and generating force fields that were strong enough to survive nuclear explosions. Mind you, not the major ones though. Also, his hover chair was equipped with its own set of devastating weaponry, which included missiles as well as lasers, and last but not least, M.O.D.O.K also had his personal army, vast amounts of resources and advanced technology always at his disposal.
There is only science. It bends to my will. Now, so shall you. And then, the world!
Modoc appearances in other media. Iron Man, Armored Adventures, has Lee Tucker voicing the character of M.O.D.O.K. Please know that this version stands for mental organism designed only for conquest, and that the character here happens to be the result of genetics and not robotics, boasting the power of generating highly power-packed psychic blasts. As M.O.D.O.K, he overthrew the Scientist Supreme and took control of AIM. While his character was seen battling against Iron Man, he could not gain an advantage over the superhero, or the supervillain Living Laser for that matter. Having made appearances in the episodes titled Ready, AIM Fire, Panther's Prey, designed only for chaos, and Uncontrollable in season 1 of the animated series, it's in the second season episode titled The Hawk and the Spider, where M.O.D.O.K makes his final appearance in the TV series. Voiced by Tom Kenny, M.O.D.O.K has appeared in the animated series titled The Superhero Squad Show, where his character happens to be working for Dr. Doom, and he is often seen getting teamed up with Abomination, whom he continuously demeans. Also, the K in M.O.D.O.K stands for kicking butt here. Voiced by Charlie Adler, M.O.D.O.K appears in the animated TV series Avengers Assemble, portraying himself not only as a recurring villain, but also as a member of the Cabal. In the Hulu animated series titled M.O.D.O.K, the titular character is voiced by Patton Oswalt. M.O.D.O.K has also made appearances in plenty of video games such as Marvel Ultimate Alliance, Iron Man 3, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Fate of Two Worlds, Marvel Superhero Squad, Lego Marvel Superheroes, Lego Marvel's Adventures, Marvel vs. Capcom, Infinite, Disney Infinity 2, Marvel Superheroes, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order Marvel Future Fight, and Marvel's Avengers 2020. Well, that was the origin story of M.O.D.O.K, and with this we finally come to the end of our video here. So which version of M.O.D.O.K do you prefer? Hit us with your thoughts in the comment section. Also, stay tuned for us for more exciting content. And if you liked our content, well, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.
Time to change the world by bringing it to its knees. Attack! The future is M.O.D.O.K.